Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not for the likes, not to tell someone about it, not to prove anything to your family, your ex, your friends, or some version of yourself you think you're supposed to be. Just for you. If that question made you uncomfortable, if you had to think for a long time and you're still not sure, then this video is going to change something in you. Because here's what nobody tells you about seeking validation. It's not a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's not something that means you're broken or insecure or too sensitive. It is one of the most human things you can feel. But when it becomes the engine that runs your entire life, when you can't make a decision without imagining how other people will react, when you post something and then spend the next 2 hours checking if people liked it, not because you're vain, but because some part of you needs that number to tell you that you matter. That's when it stops being human and starts being a prison. And today, we're going to talk about how to get out. Not by becoming cold, not by not caring about anyone, but by finally becoming the one person whose opinion of yourself actually counts. Stick with me. This one goes deep. Before we go anywhere, I need to tell you something real. I have spent an embarrassing amount of my life living for other people's reactions. I remember a time I posted something online that I actually cared about. It wasn't just a random post. I had thought about it for a while. It felt honest. It felt like me. And before hitting post, I hesitated. But I told myself, just be real for once. So I posted it. And then I waited. At first, I kept checking casually. A few likes came in. Then it slowed down. Then it really slowed down. And I could feel my mood shifting with it. I started overanalyzing everything. Was it too much? Too serious? Too boring? Did I say something wrong? Should I delete it? Meanwhile, I'd see other posts. Lighter, more polished, more acceptable, getting way more attention. And without even realizing it, I started comparing. That one moment turned into something way bigger than it should have been. I didn't just feel like the post failed. I felt like I failed. So the next time I wanted to share something real, I didn't. I watered it down, made it safer, more digestible, more likable. And yeah, it performed better. But it didn't feel the same. That's when I realized something that was hard to admit. I wasn't expressing myself anymore. I was performing for approval. And the weird thing? From the outside, I probably looked fine, confident even. But inside, there was this constant, exhausting loop running. What are they thinking? Did that come off weird? Do they like me? Was that too much? Was that not enough? Am I enough? And if you've ever lived inside that loop, you know how loud it gets. You know how it can take a normal Tuesday and turn it into something that feels like a performance review. Here's what I've learned since then. Most people who struggle with validation seeking aren't weak people. They're actually incredibly perceptive people, sensitive people, people who care deeply. The problem isn't that you care. The problem is that somewhere along the way, you started outsourcing something precious, your sense of worth, to people who were never equipped to hold it. And today, we're going to take it back. Let's define what we're actually talking about, because I think most people misunderstand this. Validation seeking is not the same as wanting to be liked. Wanting to be liked is normal. It's human. It means you're not a sociopath. Validation seeking is something deeper and more desperate. It's when your sense of reality depends on external confirmation. Let me break that down. When you seek validation, you're essentially saying, I don't trust my own experience of myself. I need you to confirm that I am okay. Think about that for a second. You have a thought, I'm doing well, but you don't fully believe it until someone else confirms it. You do something you're proud of, but the pride doesn't quite land until someone else says, wow, that's impressive. You exist in a state of constant emotional pending, waiting for someone else to hit confirm on who you are. So where does this come from? Psychology has a clear answer here. When we're children, we literally cannot survive without the approval of our caregivers. If our parents or guardians pull away, emotionally or physically, it's a life-threatening situation for our nervous system. So our brains develop a very logical response. Monitor the people around you. Read the room. Adjust yourself to get approval, because approval equals safety. That's not weakness. That was survival. But here's the tragedy. For a lot of us, that survival mechanism never got updated. We're 24, 27, 29 years old. We're adults. Nobody is going to abandon us if we don't perform perfectly. But our nervous system still thinks they might. And so we keep scanning. We keep adjusting. We keep shrinking or inflating ourselves based on the invisible audience we've carried with us since childhood. The invisible audience. That's what this is. Most of us are living our lives for an audience that exists primarily in our own heads. The parents who may or may not actually care about our career choice. The friends who are probably too caught up in their own stuff to analyze our Instagram post. The ex who we're low-key posting for even though they haven't thought about us in 3 weeks. We're performing for ghosts. And it's exhausting. Let me walk you through some signs that validation seeking might be running your life. And as I go through these, I want you to be honest with yourself. No judgment, just awareness. Sign number 1, you overshare to get reassurance. Not because you want connection, but because you're hoping someone will say, "Oh no, you're not the problem. You're fine. You're great." You share the story of your argument or your struggle, and then you feel this little hit of relief when people take your side. And if they don't, you feel worse than before you shared. Sign number 2, you can't make decisions without consulting everyone. One opinion becomes 2, becomes 5, and suddenly you've crowdsourced a life choice that only you can make. And the worst part, even after 10 people weigh in, you still don't feel settled, because no number of external opinions can fill an internal void. Sign number 3, you change how you act based on who you're with. Not in a normal, healthy, I'm more formal at work kind of way, but in a way where you genuinely don't know who the real you is anymore, because you've been adapting so long that the original version got buried. Sign number 4, criticism destroys you, but compliments barely help. This one is important. Validation seekers often notice that a single piece of criticism can ruin a week, but 10 compliments can't fully lift them up. That's because the wound isn't in the compliments. The wound is in the belief underneath that says, "I'm not good enough." No amount of external praise can heal an internal belief. Sign number 5, you perform on social media. And I don't mean you're fake. I mean you're constantly aware of an audience. You think about how a post will land before you share it. You feel something when the likes come in. You refresh. And when a post underperforms, you feel something dark and hollow that has nothing to do with the post. Sign number 6, you apologize constantly, even when you've done nothing wrong. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that taking up space, having needs, or inconveniencing someone was dangerous, so you apologize preemptively. You make yourself small, so nobody can be upset at you. How many of those landed? Again, no judgment. These patterns make total sense given where they came from. But recognizing them is step 1, and you just took it. I want to take a moment to get real about what chronic validation seeking actually costs you. Because we talk about it like it's an annoyance, like it's just a little quirk, a little insecurity. But I think it's one of the most quietly devastating patterns a person can live in. Here's what it costs. It costs you your identity. When you spend years adapting yourself to what other people want, you lose track of what you want, what you believe, what you actually like. You become a mirror that reflects everyone else's expectations back at them. And at some point, you look in an actual mirror and don't quite know who's looking back. It costs you your relationships. This is the painful irony. People who seek validation the most often end up with the weakest connections. Because real intimacy requires showing up as yourself, your messy, unpolished, unperformed self. And if you're always performing, always managing impressions, always being what you think the other person wants, they never actually meet you. They meet a version of you, and you feel unseen and lonely, even when surrounded by people. It costs you your decisions. Every major life decision filtered through "what will people think" is a decision that isn't fully yours. Your career, your relationships, where you live, how you spend your time. If all of these are shaped primarily by external approval, then you're not living your life. You're living a life designed to pass some invisible test. And here's the gut punch. You will never pass the test. Because the test doesn't end. There will always be someone unimpressed. There will always be a new standard. There will always be an opinion that contradicts the last one. You can spend your entire life chasing approval and die having never once felt truly approved of. Because the approval you were always looking for was never outside of you. It was always here. It's always been here. I want to tell you about a concept that hit me so hard it changed how I live. It's from a book by psychologist James Hollis, and he talks about something he calls the unlived life. The unlived life is the life that exists inside of you, the dreams, the desires, the authentic self, that never got to fully show up because it was too busy managing other people's expectations. And Hollis says something that shook me. He says, most people live their lives in service of the internalized expectations of others, and they don't even realize it. They think they're free. They think they're choosing. But they're actually still running a program that was installed in them when they were 8 years old, or 14, or 22, when someone important showed them that being themselves wasn't safe. And the tragedy isn't just the individual, it ripples out. Think about all the art that was never made, all the conversations that were never had, all the businesses that were never started, all the loves that were never pursued, all the truths that were never spoken. Because someone was too afraid of what people might think. You have something inside of you that the world needs. Not the performance, not the edited version, not the you that gets approved of. The real you. And every day you spend performing for the invisible audience is a day that real you doesn't get to show up. That's the cost. That's what's at stake. Okay, let's talk about what actually changes this. Because I don't want to give you a pep talk and send you home. I want to give you something real that you can work with. Here are 7 shifts that genuinely move the needle. Shift 1. Locate the wound, not the symptom. The validation seeking isn't the problem. It's the symptom. The problem is a belief that lives underneath it. Something like, I am only lovable when I perform well. If people see the real me, they will leave. My worth depends on what I achieve. Until you identify the specific belief that's driving your behavior, you're playing whack-a-mole. So here's a journaling exercise. Next time you notice yourself seeking validation, pause and ask, what am I afraid would happen if I didn't get this approval? Write the answer down. Don't judge it. Just look at it. That fear, that's the wound. And wounds can heal, but only when you can see them clearly. Shift 2. Become your own witness. Most of us have an inner critic. What we don't have is an inner witness, someone who observes our experience without judgment. Start practicing this. When you do something, anything, pause and ask yourself, what do I think of this? What do I feel about this? Before asking anyone else. You are building the muscle of self-reference. You are practicing the art of trusting your own perception. At first, it will feel strange because you're not used to it. Your own opinion might feel uncertain or irrelevant. But the more you practice returning to yourself first, the more solid that inner ground becomes. Shift 3. Separate love from approval. This one is subtle, but life-changing. We confuse love and approval constantly. We think that if someone disapproves of us, they don't love us. And we think that if someone approves of us, they do. But those are not the same thing. Someone can love you deeply and still disapprove of a choice you made. And someone can approve of your choices and not actually love or know you at all. Real love survives disapproval. And when you start to understand that, when you realize that the people who truly love you will still be there, even when you disappoint them, the urgency of seeking approval begins to soften. You can make the unpopular choice. You can disappoint someone, and the people who matter will still be there. Shift 4. Grieve the approval you never got. This is the one people skip, and it's probably the most important. For a lot of us, this all started because we didn't get the approval we needed as children, from a parent who was critical or absent, or whose love felt conditional. And part of us is still waiting, still performing, still hoping that this achievement, this post, this version of ourselves will finally get the response we always needed. And it won't, because the person we needed it from back then isn't the audience we have now. You have to grieve it. You have to feel the sadness of, I needed something I didn't get. That wasn't fair, and I can't go back and get it. That grief, when you actually let yourself feel it, releases something. It breaks the spell. It lets you stop auditioning for a part that's already been cast. You deserved that approval. You didn't get it. That's real, and it's painful. And now you get to give yourself what you always needed. Shift 5. Do one thing every day that nobody knows about. This is a practice that sounds simple and hits different. Every day, do one thing purely for yourself, and don't tell anyone. Cook a beautiful meal just because you wanted to. Take a walk to a place that makes you happy. Write something. Create something. Read something. Don't post it. Don't mention it. Let it be just yours. You are training yourself to find inherent value in your own experience, independent of witness or applause. This is how you start building a private life that is rich and real and completely yours. Shift 6. Choose your mirrors carefully. You cannot heal in an environment that constantly wounds you. If you are surrounded by people who are conditional in their love, who withdraw affection when you don't perform, you are going to keep seeking validation, because in that environment, you have to. Seek out relationships where you are seen, not just approved of. Where someone asks how you feel, not just what you've achieved. Where you can be struggling and still feel like you belong. The right people won't make you feel like you have to earn your place in their lives. Find those people and let yourself be seen by them. Shift 7. Build an internal compass. The end goal of all of this is to develop what I call an internal compass, a stable inner reference point that tells you what's true for you, what you value, and who you are, regardless of what anyone else says. This is built through small, consistent acts of self-honesty. Noticing what you actually enjoy, not what you're supposed to enjoy. Noticing what drains you versus what energizes you. Noticing when you're performing versus when you're present. Making choices from your values, not your fears. Over time, this compass becomes the thing you navigate by. And when you have it, when you have that deep, quiet sense of knowing yourself, other people's opinions become interesting instead of essential. You can hear feedback without being destroyed by it. You can be misunderstood without unraveling. You can disappoint someone and still trust yourself. That's freedom. I want you to imagine something. Imagine a version of you, 2 years from now, who has done this work. Who has located the old wound and started to heal it? Who has stopped performing and started living? Who makes decisions based on what they actually believe, not what they think they should believe? Who can post something and not check the likes, not because they don't care about connection, but because their sense of worth isn't sitting in that little number? Who can hear, "I'm disappointed in you," and feel sad, but not destroyed? Who can walk into a room and not immediately scan it for approval? Who has opinions, actual opinions, that they'll say out loud even when other people disagree? Who has a private inner life, full and rich and real, that doesn't need an audience to matter? That person still loves people, still cares what the people they love think, still wants connection and warmth and belonging, but they're no longer dependent on it for their sense of self. They are finally free. That person is you. Not someday, not after you fix yourself, not after you become more confident or more successful or more whatever. That's already in you. This work is just the process of clearing away what's been covering it up. If you made it to the end of this video, I want you to know something. The fact that you're here, watching something like this, trying to understand yourself better, that's not nothing. Most people never ask these questions. Most people go their whole lives performing for the invisible audience and never once stop to say, wait, why am I doing this? Who am I actually doing this for? You stopped. You asked. That's the beginning. This isn't going to change overnight. You've been running this pattern for years, maybe decades. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle. But start today. Start with one question. What do I actually think about this? Before you ask anyone else, before you post, consult, perform, or adapt, what do you think? Because you were never meant to live at the mercy of other people's opinions. You were meant to live from the inside out. And I really, genuinely believe you're ready to start. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.